because they organize other parasites. And they've got a whole station of or whole mechanism for parasitic control forever. So I think this Queen of England ought to be removed in that power. I don't give a shit about the woman. I don't care about that, other than I think she's probably twisted and destroyed by her association with the pedophiles and the entities that take over these guys. But that's an aside. But their power needs to be removed. Now, if I go to say that same statement on the soil in England or in Scotland or in Ireland still, I think, and Wales, I will be arrested for defaming the Queen or some spurious charge relating to the words I've just used, because I'm standing on, quote, the Queen's soil. Now, if I were to put a box or something and step up on that and say it, well, then I'm excused because I'm not standing on the Queen's territory. So these are weird little documentary fictions that are created in order to allow these people to exist and have control over us. You know, who would not rather stand on a box and not risk arrest, as opposed to stand on the soil, force the issue, and risk arrest? So they set up these mechanisms whereby there's the path of least resistance, ultimately leads into control. Now, this is a fiction. I'm saying the same words in both places. The earth under me attaches to the same planet. There's no line anywhere that the earth expresses that says the Queen owns this on this side and not that on the other side. This is all a fiction, backed by documents, which are a fiction. So it was sort of like, well, if they operate in that world and they're vulnerable to documents, then let's seize the initiative and take over the document mechanism from them. And that's basically what Gary is allowed to occur. Gary, I don't think, ever set up with the idea that he was going to create an organization, he was going to be the king of the world or anything. But he did allow a space to be created. He was pivotal. He dedicated his life to it. And we have now the world government of world citizens. Now, this is not a government like we think of based on nation states, so get that idea out of your head. But the terms have to be used in order to quell the nation state problem. So we need to have something above nation states that is not the breakaway civilization, that is not the New World Order, that is not the useless United Nations, which is, the pedophiles' favorite tool for coercing everybody. But we need to have a really effective tool as world citizens for kicking the shit out of the bastards that have destroyed the planet and are continuing in that basis. Well, hey, the world government of world citizens is that tool. We can create another one just as easy as Gary did. We could go to the trouble and so on, but I don't see the point. There's millions of people already signed up for this. It's demonstrated its effectiveness in issuing passports and other documents that pass legal tests. It forces the legal system and governments to cave. It's great reading Gary's books about how the government has reacted to it, because basically when in doubt, government does nothing. Authority does nothing because they don't want to force the issue, because it always brings them up to another point of vulnerability. And bear in mind, there is no such thing as government per se. There's no beast you can go on out and say, ooh, that's government. Instead, there are all these individuals who are operating within mind-controlled boxes and very narrow parameters for their behavior. So you can go in and predict how most bureaucrats are going to behave in any given situation, because they have very few motivations. Most of the motivations is, don't cause me problems. My life is shit. I don't want any more problems. And so if you can offer them a way out for any problem you may have caused, usually they'll take it. Anyway, Gary has presented a lot of this stuff in his books. They're worth reading. There's a lot of his material online, free, in various blogs and discussions and so on. And all of this relates to the whole and builds from human common law, which is my point. If I get into a dispute with a guy in Scotland, okay, there's this hot-headed Irishman I know over there, and I like him a whole lot, and we get into a dispute over my cursing out his favorite rooster. And so he thinks I'm a real bastard, and because I have cursed his favorite rooster, and his favorite rooster is no longer making the hens happy. And so he calls me out on a dispute. Well, common law between humans allows us to sit down and resolve that. If we need other humans to act as intermediaries, we can do so based on common law. Common law is basically a humanity-wide lowest common denominator of acceptable behavior between individuals living in the present. Now, that's a real key. If you notice this, when you go to the World Citizens, worldservice.org site, They say, and when you sign up to be a world citizen, and I would not have pursued this had I not seen that in there, they want people that are living in the present. Well, if you're living in the present, you're here now. You're not basing your actions on some future gain promised by religion, politicians, or something else. You're not part of factionalism, which is based on an abstraction. You are living here. So somebody living in the now looks at Max Kaiser video, and he sees Max Kaiser doing things that are positive for humanity as a whole. Somebody living not in the now, somebody living in an abstraction, watches that same video and says, oh, disgusting Max Kaiser, communist, socialist. Well, let's look at the difference there. The person who is saying that Max Kaiser is a socialist or a communist is expressing and labeling Kaiser for behavior that individual thinks is communistic or socialistic. Now, but that individual has crossed a threshold in my mind. That individual is not living in the present. By labeling Max Kaiser a socialist or communist, it would allow this individual to be coerced into killing or doing atrocious things to Max, because he would not be dealing with a human being. He would be dealing with the abstraction in his mind of the socialist Max Kaiser or the communist Max Kaiser, not the human being Max Kaiser, who we all know and love, and who takes a real good care of us all, and is not mean to the wonderful woman in his show. And so this guy would see a socialist and yes, you can kill socialists because you're not a socialist, or you can kill communists because you're not a communist, or you can kill Jews because you're not a Jew, or you can kill Arabs because you're not an Arab, or you can kill Palestinians because you're not a Palestinian. These are all artificial constructs. Basically, it comes down to you violating your moral integrity and killing a human. Now, if I'm going to kill a human, I got to have a really damn good reason for it, and I ain't going to do it for your reason. I don't care who you are. I'm very moral, vegetarian. I don't even kill to eat. I will kill to defend myself, and for other circumstances. That's not going to be a doubt. But I ain't going to do it for your reasons. And I don't care if you are the nation state or my neighbor. I simply do not kill for others' ideas. Nor do I commit atrocities on other individuals, nor do I label them, because all of that ultimately leads to the act of committing atrocities. If you can get people to believe absurdities, such as socialism and communism are actually individuals and humans rather than an abstraction that you happen to think about in a particular way relative to the behavior of other humans that you've been taught or schooled to think is that way, by the way, then you can go out and kill them. And see, that's the real problem. We can't have that anymore. We need all of our world citizens to stand up and behave under common law as competent stewards of their lives and the planet, to be fucking adults. And I don't see that in the politicians. I don't see that in the Robomnis or any of these bastards, any of the guys in Israel, the BBs, any of these people. They are not adults. These are not people living in the present. These are people that have got their minds all fucking warped out by some abstraction, spiraled in on it, and they're using that abstraction as a basis to go out and commit atrocities and kill other humans. Now, we need all the humans we can get because we got tough times coming, and some of these humans may have enough brains to get us out of this. And so you go kill some poor 8-year-old girl in Palestine, and you don't know that 10 years later she was going to invent a device that would save your fucking grandkids. And you kill her because, hey, she's a Palestinian. She's a non-human. She's a goy. She is a cattle in the language of my Zionist mindset. Now, I'm not a Zionist. I'm just playing a role there, and that's how these people are thinking. Because they are living in a level of a non-real, non-present moment, they are capable of this action. Any world citizen living in the present moment will not be capable of such action. There are key ways to live that will prevent such things as factionalism taking over the world government of world citizens. We won't have that kind of a thing because of the admonition that you must be in the present moment. And if someone wants to argue with me and they start bringing up abstractions, what I have to then do is force back on them. These abstractions and labels are projections that are coming from your mind and do not reflect the state of affairs actually occurring in the present moment. And since we are at risk in the present moment, if you're not living in the present moment, you're not aiding us, so get the fuck out of the way. that's basically what we're going to end up with. The nation state is an impediment to the survival of the species. It must be done away with. We need to do this in an organized, coherent way. Anarchy will not allow our species to move forward. Anarchy is not a solution. It is a sop to a damaged mind and an emotionally immature being. Emotionally mature beings are competent stewards of their lives and attempt to express that competency wherever they go and have their lives impact all other life positively. It is true that it is equally valid to be a negative being and try and create negative forces in the planet or in the universe. There's nothing saying the universe favors one over the other. But in general, competent citizens, or the competent citizen expression within common law, favors only a positive viewpoint. You might one day find us arguing that otherwise. So here's where we're at. I am thinking in terms of a dual sense, because when we come through this thing in next June, and we're all trying to put together a basic survival plan for the next few days, weeks, months, and so on, let us not forget that this is a marvelous opportunity to stop being fucktards and nation-state tools and start being true world citizens in a world government and collectively running our planet. Everybody wants to rule the world, so here's your chance. Go on out, become a member of some group, or declare yourselves independent of all groups and go that way. It's equally valid. But you won't have the power that you would get if you were part of the world citizen, world government of world citizens. Which brings up something. This is based on common law. So here we have, for instance, this big brouhaha that has occurred over this past year of David Wilcock promoting this Section 8 fellow Drake and the idea of mass arrests, that we're going to be taking all of the evil bastards out. Now, David Wilcock is exhibiting gullible behavior. Okay, he believed the lies that were promulgated by the people that told him they were the truth, and he acted on them. It is the underlying nature of the thought, though, of these mass arrests that we need to examine. It was an attractive thought. Everybody liked it. Vast quantities of people thought this was just cool as shit, and that they just couldn't wait for it. And in fact, it was a something of an internet sensation. And people in their otherwise right mind were emotionally captivated by the idea, at least for a few minutes. Why is this? Well, because it represents a true and real need. So in that sense, David Wilcock, even though he was gullible to the people that claimed to be accurate sources, he was expressing a real need that is flowing through humanity. We don't want to see this shit anymore, right? We want to get it all cleaned up and get back and get back on track, so to speak, as a human species, whatever that may mean. But as an expression of that, we know that we got to get rid of all the banksters and all the people that are corrupt and causing all the problems at the top. And so the expression of the mass arrest, I saw, and even spoke about it on the Red Ice interview and so forth, was not a bad thing. The disinformation was bullshit, and it was bad, but the expression itself coming from humanity is part and parcel of this whole desire for a world government operating under common law, etc. Now, that brings us to this specific point. In the Drake fantasy that Wilcock promulgated, there were going to be mass arrests. And they never really got down to it. They said, the U.S. military would do it, and so on and so on. But when you understand how the world functions, what authority, legal document authority, would the U.S. military have for arresting the CEO of a South American corporation, or arresting Ratzinger the Pope for all of his crimes against humanity? There would be no legal basis, and there's in fact no court that could legally try these individuals that are transnationalists and are committing crimes against humanity and not necessarily crimes against a nation state. Again, a limitation of the nation state. It can only deal with the shit that it claims within its borders and those individuals it claims it owns. And by the way, if you accept an American passport, a U.S. passport, you are in de facto agreeing that they own you and they can control your movements. The world citizen, world passport is not that way. They don't refuse to issue you a passport because they don't like your politics or because they want to control you. They don't refuse to issue a passport. They issue you a passport. If you misbehave with it, you are subject to being affected and arrested and dealt with in whatever territory you misbehave in, but they are not prejudicial. nor is there any kind of an attempt for political, religious, or any other agenda through the world government of world citizens. You need a passport, you're a displaced stateless person, or you need a passport and you're not telling them why. Doesn't matter to them. They will issue you a passport because you are a de facto world citizen. You're a human, you're requesting it.